Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Saturday, July 24th. I wanted to go over the swing trade watch list for next week. I've only got a couple of them. I want to keep it simple, and I think this is going to be a pretty crazy week with the FOMC coming up. Federal Reserve is going to come out and say everything's fine, don't worry about it. Interest rates are temporary, and all that stuff. So, um, first off, we're looking at the S&P 500. We've got 4 green days in a row. We could have a pullback. However, we've had more than that in the past. We've had pretty good runs so far. We are still in a bull market for now. Higher lows, higher highs. Um, so when I've been talking about 390 forever. This area 385 support. Retest this. Resistance will become support. However, I don't know if we're going to pull back yet. We need to put in a lower low. And because we put in a higher high on Friday, we broke this high. That means this is invalid. So now we're going off of higher low, higher low, higher low. So we're still in a bull pattern. We might come up a little bit more and bounce here, but I wanted to look at some other ideas and see maybe what's going on. We had, again, I said we would bounce twice off of resistance. I got 1, 2, and a dip. However, it's possible that this is just one, and then we get a second one up here. When you look at this SPY, the SPY is kind of got this reciprocal relationship with all of the stocks, the major stocks that make up the SPY. So you've got stocks like Apple, AAPL, that are in an uptrend, Microsoft, I don't know what all the other ones are, but anyway, we've been in a uptrend for a while now. So puts, I'm not really sure I want to do quite yet. We had this alarm set. Let me break this down a little bit here. I got in short on Thursday, I believe it was, when we came back up to this. I thought we were going to break it, and we didn't. We just kept going higher. So we should be out of SPY puts right now. If you're still holding it, our stop loss was 437, which this is close but not quite perfect. SPX and SPY, but 437 was our stop. We got out of the stop loss. I would like to see. Here's what's probably going to happen because it's FOMC. We've got this trend line now. We'll probably just keep climbing up, and then as soon as the Fed speaks, we'll break this trend line and come back down, and we'll either hit this, retest it, or we'll really drop. We'll hit this. However, I don't know, we might fall pretty hard, but I don't think we're going to crash anytime soon. So keep this on our watch. If we do break below, we'll get closer on Tuesday and Wednesday, but if we break this channel, you can scalp puts, but don't hold them overnight. Not ready to do that. Instead, let's look for, oh wait, real quick. So let's look at this. So this was kind of our resistance area in the past. However, everything's kind of shifted down. So if you look at this now, we've still got a little bit of room to go higher. I'm not going to buy any calls by any means, but I bet we would go a little bit higher, and we can retest this area here. And then our plan was to kind of make a head and shoulders, which it broke below, so that means that negated our head and shoulders pattern because you need to have an equal low. So we broke that, and just like every week, the SPY squeezes. When you look at this, your take all this stuff out of here. So anyway, here's what happens. We come down to the 50 period moving average, and we bounce hard every time. And I don't know why I didn't believe it, and I didn't get in calls. I think Richie did. And by the way, he's on fire. He's like 99% success rate this month, and pretty much everything he says is just freaking spot on. I'm taking his trades to make sure that I'm green because some of my trades turn out red. But anyway, so SPY might come back up and bounce a second time off of here, and he could scalp puts back down, especially if Jerome Powell's talking. You could maybe get a bounce, but your target is going to be the 50 period moving average. So if we bounce on Wednesday at 445, your target is just going to be 433 area, something like that. So don't get too far out of the money because we might not crash yet. Right now we're putting in higher lows. Anyway, spent too much time on that. Last week I talked about, and let me do this. Last week, this is what our candle looked like. We had a huge gap up on huge volume, and I said, that's probably ending volume. And then I changed my mind and I said, actually, that's probably igniting volume because we broke out of this channel. And we just kept going higher. We put in an all-time high. We almost closed at an all-time high. I think 349.30 or something like that was the all-time high. 349.45 it looks like. That's a bullish candle right there. That just took out all of those sellers. So, I know a lot of you people are short Moderna, but this is a warning from someone who has blown up plenty of accounts trying to short Tesla, trying to short Bitcoin, and trying to short GME before I flipped and went long. But I would not short this yet. And here's why. The best example I can think of is Plug. I shorted it when it hit the 90, hit 90 on the RSI right here. I'm going to blow this up. Relative strength indicator is what RSI means. When it gets to 70, most stocks start to pull back and start to correct. When it gets to 90, that means you're at the top and you're not going to hardly go any farther. So when Plug got to 90, I was finally like, okay, time to short Plug, right? So, which I did, and I did successfully. But look how many weeks it just chopped around at the 90. Like, it just chopped around for 2 or 3 weeks and then finally dropped, right? That's the benefit of shares. You can just get in, set your stop loss at an all-time high, and then just hold them until it falls. But puts don't work that way. Puts, you have to anticipate the move. So instead, you wait for a pattern, you break down, retest, and then just crash, right? You want a pattern to fail before you buy a put. So once a pattern fails, so this was an uptrend, the channel, we broke it out right here. We broke the trend. So you immediately would get in puts. That candle's high would be your stop loss. And then you buy, you can even buy out of the money puts for a ways away. But once the pattern breaks, then you can short Moderna. Because right now, we're at almost 90 on the RSI. I mean, that's pretty freaking high. But that doesn't mean it's going to come down. That just means it's going to take some more time before it goes higher. So it might just chop around for months and then go to 700. If we look at Tesla, and now you also got to remember Tesla has split 5-1 already. So let's go way back here. So Tesla was already in a pretty good run before COVID crashed, right? And then it just started taking off. And it was one of the first stocks to break an all-time high after COVID. We got to this area, which should have been resistance, and it should have failed. But instead, it broke out above here. So I wasn't short here yet. But if you start looking at the RSI, okay, right here, yeah, it broke 90 and it failed. But then it crawled back up. And then it failed. It broke a pattern, and then it failed. Then you get up here. Okay, up here, this is where I shorted the first time. You got to remember before the split. So times this by 5, so 300. It'd be a $1,500 stock. You know, $1,500 stock on electric vehicles that they can't even go more than 200 miles. Nobody owns them yet in the rest of the country except for the coast. There's no infrastructure to support Tesla yet. There's no way. This is pure hype, so it's going to crash, right? So let's say you gapped up here. This is what Moderna looks like right now. So you broke this channel and you gapped up the first day. Okay, that's cool. I'm not ready to short it quite yet. You get a red candle. Okay, it's going to correct. Yeah, it's correcting. Oh crap, it's going higher. Hopefully you stopped out right here and you're not still holding puts. You're like, okay, well that's a huge green bar on large volume. That's got to be the top. I'm definitely getting in shorts and puts now, right? Okay, no, it went higher. However, they gapped up and then crashed. That's definitely ending volume now. I'm definitely getting out at $1,500 a share. Definitely getting out now. Okay, yeah, it's starting to crash. Coming down good. Oh crap. Okay, I'm stopped out again, right? Then immediately turns around. Oh man, I knew I should have shorted that. I should have stuck to my stop loss up here. I'll get back in short here because $1,500 stock is going to go down to $200, right? So you short it again on this day. And you go, oh man, I'm making good money here. And then it just consolidates. And you lose all your money because of theta decay. Then it starts going up higher. And you're like, what the heck? How is this a $1,500 stock still? And it keeps going. And just keeps going. And you get huge green bars. And you're like, okay, now this is a $2,500 stock. And it's splitting. What the heck? I guess this thing's going to go to, if it's split, it's $500. And now it's going to go back to $2,000 again, probably. So then you get in calls. And then it just dumps, right? So you're like, oh crap. Should have shorted it. So you start shorting it again. And then it just starts making this weird pattern until eventually it just goes stupid crazy. And you tried to short it at $300. And in the meantime, the stock has split now 5-1. And so you're looking at a stock that is a $4,500 stock and you shorted it at $300. It just doesn't work. Anyway, that was way too much time talking about that. But as someone who shorts stocks often, I was ready to short it right about here actually. After this huge green move, I was like, yeah, it's due for a pullback. And then it didn't. That was my first sign. This is the next Tesla. This thing is going to $700 easy. Might take a few months, but it's going to $1,000, maybe $2,000 before it splits 10-1 again. And then it'll crash. When your coworkers start talking about buying a stock, that's when you want to start buying puts. That's kind of the rule of thumb. When everybody started saying, dude, what do you think of Dogecoin? Then I was like, well, I guess I need to sell. So that's what you want to do. When everybody at work is starting to cash out their life savings and buy Moderna, that's when you want to short it. You don't want to short it right now. We're still early. Anyway, it might chop around for a minute. It might just come back down, retest this line, and then go higher. If you're in 260 puts, you can hope that it comes back to retest this line, but I would get out. Here's another thing. I'm going to spend more time on this than I should. This is a gap right here that needs to be filled, right? This is a gap that never got filled at $243. This is another gap that never got filled at $225. They don't have to fill. Here's another gap under here. This is where it originally broke out. There's still an unfilled gap under here at 129. If you look at any stock in 2020 on election night, here's a gap that never got filled and probably never will. I mean, it will someday when the market crashes, but you gotta wait for patterns, and you gotta wait for patterns to break. Look how beautiful this was, by the way, and I can't believe I missed it. I'm not talking about Boeing, but I just want to show you how beautiful this was. Broke down, retested, and bounced perfectly. Got to learn patterns. It's going to take you 5 years just to start learning patterns. But don't worry, because once you do, it'll change your life, and you will never look back. This is the beginning for a lot of you guys. This is the beginning of life-changing money. But it might take you 5 years, but are you willing to give 5 years of your life to change not only your future, but generations after you and their future? Generational wealth is what you're talking about here. So I think 5 years is worth it, in my opinion. Anyway, let's get to, real quick, I want to go back to Tesla. I want to put this in narrative form and see if you guys can understand why I think Tesla might eventually fill this gap and come down to $200. First of all, if you look at plug, see, eventually they do always come down. But sometimes stories help me better. So what I want to do is talk about stories. So let's say you wanted to buy a house, and the house was $900,000. I know that's a lot of money for some people. It's a lot of money for me. I would never buy a house for $900,000. That's crazy. My house is $200,000. You guys should read a book called Everyday Millionaire. Anyway, before you start buying Lambos. Let's say you wanted to buy a house for $900,000, right? But like we are right now, we're at the top of the market, and everybody's like, houses are crazy expensive. We can't do this forever. It's like, I'm going to wait. And then your agent says, okay, it's January. Let's wait a month. I think there's going to be a 10% off sale. So the house goes down to $800, listed on Zillow, right? And in February, you're like, okay, cool, I think I'm going to buy this house. And they're like, no, actually, the sale ended on Friday. Now we're back to $900,000. You're like, okay, well, then I can't afford it right now, so I'm going to wait. And he's like, well, just wait till March. We'll see what the price is. So you get to March, and you see this house is $600,000. You're like, wait a minute. Last month it was $900,000. Now it's $600,000. What is wrong with this house that would make it drop a third in value in 1 month? Right? I don't want this house, obviously. So you're like, yeah, I'm definitely not going to buy that house. So you quit looking at that house. But then you come back in, March, and you're like, oh, it's back up to 700. Maybe that was just a fluke thing. Maybe, whatever. The seller just wanted to get rid of it. whatever, it's going back up. And you're like, well, it is a $900,000 house and it's on sale for $700,000. I'll take a look at it. But now that I know it was listed for 600, I'm going to wait for it to come back to 600 before I buy it. So you're like, okay, I'm just going to wait. It comes back down to 600, like, yeah, I think I might buy that. It's got potential to go back up, but you have some other circumstances come up, so you're like, oh, I'm just going to hold off for another month. Then you come into April, and the house is listed for $775. You're like, what the heck? There's no way I'm going to buy the house for $775. I'm just going to wait again, see if it's still on the market. If it's not, I don't want it. If it is, then cool, I'll buy it down here at 600 again. So you wait for May. May comes along. It's a $600,000. But during that time, you found another house over here that was for $200,000 called Moderna House, and everybody on the news is talking about this house is going to triple in value in a month. So instead, you buy this $230 house over here in May, and you stop looking at this house altogether, right? So eventually, time goes along. This house has been listed for months. Nobody's buying it. So they start lowering the price. They start lowering the price more, and they start lowering the price more. You come back in November or December, and you're like just looking on Zillow. You're like, whoa, that house that was $900,000, that's on sale for $200,000. So you're like, let's go buy that thing. We could sell our other house that we bought for $600 because it went up in value. Buy this house for $200,000 because we know it's got more value than $200. It's at least worth $600,000, right? So let's go back, we'll sell our house, buy this one at $200, and just sit in it for 5 years until it goes back up to $600, right? That's exactly what's happening to Tesla. Nobody wants to buy Tesla anymore because there are other things that have more appreciation value, like Apple now. Now that it's breaking out, it can go higher. It can go to 200. Moderna is going to go to. It's going to chop around for a while, but it's eventually going to be up here where Tesla is. So they don't want Tesla. So that's why I'm bullish, or bearish, on Tesla. I think it's going to break this trend line that we got going on right here, keep falling, and just keep going. And then around January of next year, when it's $200 and nobody's talking about it again, that's when you buy Tesla. So, first on the list, nobody is talking about GameStop. We had a really nice run a couple months ago. Last month, nothing happened with it. It just consolidated in the downward trend, and nobody cared. So right now, nobody's looking at this. That means it's a perfect time to buy. It hasn't fallen. We've got really good support in this area right here, right? They are not going to let it fall below this area. If it does, then whatever. The game's over. You'll never come back up. But for right now, it's still just chopping around in this area. We saw in the last few days 1, 2, 3 big moves up. And we kind of have this downward flag thing going, right? And we also have a buy setup. This is where it goes pulls up, pulls back about 50%, and then breaks. I am in GameStop 185 calls for August 6th so that we can try to catch the pop. We're also in 315 calls because we have the potential to get back to 345 area. So I'm in 315 calls in the $19 challenge just because they're like 25 bucks, I think, right now. And we shoot 2 for 1, so it could go up to 50 bucks. However, We might go with $345. Who knows? GameStop is on my list. AMC is on my list. We've filled this channel, or this gap. So now there's nothing keeping it from going higher, or there's nothing keeping it from going higher necessarily. We do have a lot of resistance in this area, 60 to 70 area. So my target would just be 60, and I'll get out. I might, this is also a buy setup, same exact pattern. We had a huge pop, pull back about 50%, and then we'll break the channel and just keep going higher. So first target is 60. If we break 70, then this could potentially squeeze because it looks like a nice flag. And we could see 100, 120 by the end of the year. AMC looks good. Still trying to short the housing market. We have this VNQ. We have this resistance trend line here that's sold off quite a few times when it hits it. We're back up in it right now. However, we've only broken it once, and then we immediately gapped down. So I think this is going to be the top. We do have some support when you see this bottoming tail. That's support. That means the buyers pushed it back up. So we do have this to contend with. However, once we break below here, then it can just drop. So I'm going to say I got stopped out of my other puts when it came back up. It was stronger than I thought, and we are in a uptrend. So what I'm going to do is just keep it really, really tight and just say 106.50 is our stop loss, and I'm going to get in puts at the open unless we gap above 106.50. I'm going to get in 100 puts for August 20th. Oh, dang it, I didn't charge my computer again. 100 puts for August. Target, we'll just get out at 101.50, but we could potentially pull back to 94 again, and then I'm still on my 80 puts for September, but I'll probably just get out of that too. It might not crash yet. VNQ short, DDD long. I like this one long just because we had a nice pullback and a bounce here, and this is also the same buy setup. Not really, but we did kind of come up, and then we can bounce. We can put in the little W pattern here. We've got support right here. It's where it got bought last time. It'll get bought again right here. It's also kind of bouncing off where it broke out here originally. So this will be our stop loss at 25.80 area. We'll get in 25 or even 30 calls for August 20th. TWTR puts, Twitter puts. I'm just going to get in on the open. Make this our stop loss. Top of that candle. That's very nasty looking candle. We've sold off every single time we get to that area. Sold off here, sold off here, sold off here. We'll sell off again here. We sold off there. This is earnings. Gapped way up in earnings and came all the way back down. And that's exactly what Apple did last time. Apple, we had resistance at 135. We gapped above it in earnings, and then we broke below it, and then it failed. So we'll say our target's going to be this green line, 60. 72. We'll get in 65 calls, and target will be 60 for August 20th. UPST, I'm still in short. I'm in, this isn't really a great pattern. I probably shouldn't have done it. However, so we've got this was a support area right here, holding up the stock, right? So this was support, and then we broke it, and came back up, and we're bouncing. So this would be a sell setup. It's really, really bad one, but we have huge topping tail here. That means the sellers came in. Red candle here. We've got some buyers pushing it back up in this area, but I think we'll come at least back down and retest this 106 area, and then after that we can fall. It's broken already the long-term trend. So I'm in EPST 110 puts for next week, and last one is WMS calls. This one had multi-top resistance. We broke above it, came down, retested it, and bounced. So above let's go ahead and break the candle. New high, 122.70. Break above that, we'll get in 125 calls, and we'll do this kind of pattern. Bounce and keep going. And we can get in August. I might get in some leaps. One last thing about DDD, I want to get core trade on this one, which means leaps long term with a stop loss at the 200-day moving average. As far as a long-term investment, oh yeah, look at this. Look how beautiful this is. Bounce there, ripped. Bounce here, it's going to rip. So I'm going to get in probably 25 or 30 calls for 2022, and let's just see how ridiculously high this baby can go. Last one, VTR. I almost forgot this one. What did I have? 55 puts on this one. We had what was support is going to be resistance. Probably just the fact that this here is resistance area, resistance. We broke above, broke down, broke above it, and put in some topping tails here. So I'm going to assume that it's going to break this. So we'll get in 55 puts once we break this candle at 59.20. We'll get in 55 puts and hopefully hold it down to the 200 MA, 52, 53 area, BTR. If you guys have any questions, send me a private message, and I appreciate everything you guys do. Thank you.